I'm Jennifer. This video I'm making to kind of tell you my story. So I am 6.5 months in recovery from eating disorder not otherwise specified. My disorder started my sophomore year of high school. I was in the color guard, and for those of you who don't know, color guard is kind of like a drill team, except we use flags. And so it's very important that you look good, and that was stressed a lot, and you had to look good, and you had special undergarments to make sure that your stomach didn't stick out, and you had to make sure your hair was just right, and that it was straight, and you had to make sure that your makeup was just right, and it was a lot of pressure. And so about halfway through the season, I got a stress fracture in my wrist. So I was just out for the whole season. And honestly, it wasn't traumatic for me because I was kind of done with color guard anyways, because it was just too much stress for me. So I quit after the end of the semester, and that's really when my eating disorder started, because I wasn't doing anything physical, and so I had to compensate for that. And it started off with just not eating lunch at school. It would be I would bring a small bag of goldfish, and that would be all I would eat for lunch, and then it turned into just nothing at lunch, and then nothing for breakfast or lunch, but it would be I wouldn't eat breakfast or lunch, and then after school I would get my mom to go take me to a fast food restaurant, and I'd get a whole meal, and then I'd eat it, and then I'd eat another meal. And so I was still eating the amount that I was supposed to be, but it was at the wrong times, and so my body wasn't handling that correctly. So what happened was I ended up gaining weight from that, and I didn't like that. And so over the summer I started to eat breakfast, but then I wouldn't eat anything until dinner time, and I would barely eat anything at dinner. And so it got to the point where over Christmas break I was literally living off of fruit and Diet Coke, and that wasn't good for me, and I wasn't eating very much. Then September of last year, I went to my therapist for the first time. I had seen other therapists, but they weren't specialized in eating disorders, and I hadn't been diagnosed with an eating disorder or anything, but I had some social anxiety problems and some depression, and so I had been working on those. But it wasn't until I got to this therapist that it really was serious. And so when I got to this therapist, she made me feel important, and she stayed with me, and I'm one of the most stubborn people I know, and she can be equally as stubborn, which is definitely what one needs when they're in that state. So that was good, and she, when I would stand my ground, she would slap me out of it, not literally, but, it was what I needed. So, let's see, the third 9 weeks of my junior year in high school, my social anxiety got to an extent to where I could not go to school. It was very traumatic for my mother. She didn't know what was going on. She thought I was making progress, and then all of a sudden I just couldn't go to school. And my eating disorder was really bad at that point. You could see my bones, and everybody was worried, and my skin started to get splotches because it was in stress mode. And it was just bad, and my boyfriend stayed by me and everything, and I was very, very lucky to have the support system that I had. I ended up going to a group therapy, and it wasn't specialized for eating disorders, because my main problem at that point was my social anxiety. And so it was a day hospital, so I would go there for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then I would come home at night. So it wasn't full hospitalization, but it was the thing right before it. I was very lucky. I never had to go to residential treatment. I have some really good friends who did and who are in residential treatment, and it breaks my heart. But through group, I got over my social anxiety, and I was able to go back to school for the last 9 weeks of my junior year. I didn't want to, but they forced me to, and I'm very glad that they did. Now I'm a senior, and I haven't missed a day of school yet. I'm very proud of that. Like I said, I'm 6.5 months into recovery. Back when I started in recovery, I never thought that I would get to this spot. Time's flown by since I've been in recovery. I remember in my eating disorder, it seemed like every day took forever. And now it's just like I can enjoy every day, and it's so much better. I really, really, really want people to know more about eating disorders. I'm coordinating the 2012 Houston Needle Walk for my area, and it's become like my baby. And I've met so many great people in the process. I met my personal sponsor for my recovery, and she's awesome. And I met one of my best friends through this because she saw that I was organizing the walk, and she decided to reach out to me, and I'm so glad that she did. She means the world to me now, and it's been such a great process, and the walk hasn't taken place yet, but it's going to in about 3 weeks, and so I'm very excited to see how it turns out. I'm only 17, and I'm coordinating this walk, and usually it's like people who are out of college and have their own job and are in recovery from their eating disorders, and they want to give back to the community, and I wanted to do that. I was just younger, so I went ahead and did it. If anybody out there is dealing with body image issues, or has an eating disorder, or is just depressed, you need to know that people do care. And if you do consider hurting yourself, think of how everybody else will feel. I know that I personally saved one of my friends from committing suicide the night before Easter, and it was the hardest thing for me ever. And I ended up saving her, and that was great, but I was so upset after that. And then like a month later, she just decided not to be my friend anymore, which really hurt, but I still felt good that I had saved her. If you need anybody to talk to, feel free to talk to me. There's plenty of support groups out there. If you look them up, and they're confidential, nobody has to know that you're in them. You can get a therapist. My mom says every day that everybody needs a therapist, which I kind of agree with, but at different levels. If you need help, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody that you know will actually do something. Because if you just talk about it, then nothing's going to happen. So, I thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you all get help, and you help others, because that's the most rewarding thing that will ever happen to you. So, once again, thank you so much. Have a good day.